Steel Poddable.
Other teams might as well buy their tickets to Cancun now because the Celtics are on the path to ban on 19. With us on this journey are JT, Sam, Packard, Brian, Rob, and Sean. So I'm gonna need you all to buckle in because this pod's gonna be a wild ride.
Steel Poddable, Steel Poddable. The Boston Celtics, Steel Poddable, Steel Poddable.
I've never seen anybody lose their season 2 years in a row.
A psychosexual celebration of the Boston Celtics. Welcome back to Still Poddable, folks. This will not be a psychosexual celebration of the Boston Celtics. This will be a psychosexual shaming of the Boston Celtics. We try not to kink shame here. This is Poddable Postgame. I should probably talk about that first. I'm Sam Packard, part of Still Poddable, joined by producer extraordinaire Sean Gauthier. Celtics lose Game 3, 95-93, in what was ultimately a very ugly basketball game. We got the return of Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown played. Drew Holiday did not play. I think that made a big impact on the game. We'll talk about that later. But the Celtics just with an ugly, really third quarter, but I would say second half, only scoring 34 points in the second half total, 11 points in that third quarter, completely blowing the 10-0 lead they had going into the 10-point lead they had going into halftime. It was close at the end, I guess, but then it was just general tomfoolery and shenanigans, and not in a fun way, in a bad, I'm angry at the television kind of way.
Very much a I'm angry at the television kind of game, honestly. Like, the first half was like fun, and it was basketball, and then God, that second half was just not only because the Celtics were terrible, but it was just like whistle after stoppage after review. It was just awful to watch. I mean, I can't believe we're podcasting at 10 o'clock for a 7 o'clock start. This is brutal.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that, but that's not the normal time that this podcast should start. I scheduled this for 9:30.
Yes.
And I don't want to let the first half off the hook. I think there was 3 reviews in the first 14 minutes of the game. Like, it was a slog then in the first half as well. And let's make it, this is what the Orlando Magic do, and this is kind of the recipe to beat the Boston Celtics, is like they're going to play as physical as possible. They're addicted to fouling. It was a physical game, and I just don't think the Celtics handled it well. I think in Game 2, I thought they did a very good job of getting and playing through that contact and getting to the line, especially Kristaps Porzingis. And I thought the Celtics tonight had a similar opportunity, especially in that fourth quarter. I think the Celtics were in the bonus in the final 8 minutes, and I think KP didn't do a good job the entire evening any of his mismatches of drawing fouls. I thought Jason Tatum, I think, went to the rim like hard once and got a nice lefty layup, but then settled for some fadeaway jumpers. I thought the offense was just not. It kind of felt like they were startled by the Magic's physicality and didn't. I guess you give them credit for kind of making a run and trying to get them back into this game, because I think they went on like a 17-5 run at some point to kind of make this an actual contest. But just down the stretch, no good buckets on offense. And like the Magic being not a great offensive team is kind of what kept the Celtics in this game. And I thought they did a decent job of like improving on their defense, but just their offensive process tonight was not great whatsoever.
Yeah, and especially just like, after the second quarter looked so good and like the offense was looking like it was getting back to like what it's supposed to be, to go into that third quarter and even most of the fourth, like the thing that stands out to me the most is Pritchard 1 of 2 in this game from the field in 26 minutes. How are we not having Pritchard put up the ball more? Like there were plenty of moments where I saw him like pass in, his defender leaves him to chase Brown or to chase Tatum or to chase someone, and the ball just doesn't pop back out. Like they weren't playing Celtics basketball. The ball wasn't moving. I think Drew Carter on the broadcast was saying like it was like at least through the third quarter it was like the fewest, it was like tied for the fewest assists all season for the Celtics. Like it was just ugly, bad, stale defense down the stretch.
Yeah, and not a lot of assists, not a lot of 3-pointers generated. And this is what the Magic do. They're a very good job of being a physical team and running you off the line, but the ball didn't feel like it hit the paint and have that kind of inside-outside game. I think we saw Tatum on like a deep post up, and then they had to double, and he kicked it out to Al Horford, and like that's when they got a 3. That's when they got back in the game. But other than that, they were not really doing a good job of getting the ball in the paint and then getting the ball spraying out to shooters. And Kristaps was just bad. Like Kristaps, I thought did a phenomenal job in game 2 of taking advantage of smaller guards, getting deep post position. Kristaps is just like relying on the fact that he's 7'9", but like get a little bit closer to the basket, use your size, get to the line. I think he just settled and shot over guys tonight. Yes, he had a giant gash in his head, and maybe he was worried about that. Do I blame him for that? A little bit, because it's the playoffs and you should be willing to get another gash in your head. But he just was bad tonight. He was a -16. He only had 7 points, went to the free throw line 3 times. Like that, the Celtics just lost the margins everywhere. They took less shots than the Magic. They only made 1 more 3 than the Magic. They took less free throws than the Magic, and then 21 turnovers. And 7 of those came from Jason Tatum. 6 of those came from Jaylen Brown. It was just a sloppy game, and it was ugly. It was just ugly times down in Orlando.
I'm just gonna put this on the screen. Durant on Twitter says, "Get Kristaps off my team." No, it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't good. I don't think it's off the
wasn't good.
team.
Listen.
I don't think we have to do that, but
Was he the worst single game plus minus?
oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, -16 tonight. That's no good. Off the team, the man's got a hole in his face. He'll probably. I imagine he'll turn it around. Here we go, Josh B. And with more of my kind of, I love pretending to be a guy who doesn't hate refs and then turning on the refs real fast.
I mean, the refs, it was a kind of a shit show down the stretch with like the backcourt call. It was like obviously a bad call. Like obviously it wasn't backcourt. Obviously wasn't an 8-second violation. But I also thought that kind of screwed the Celtics over because they had like the Magic scrambling in that possession. Yeah. They played pretty good defense there, forced Franz to take the shot, but then it's just like the long rebound where you hope to have that. Also, I definitely thought more time was going to be put back on the clock there. I thought like Tatum called the timeout with at least 0.1. It just changes or not 0.1, actually like 1 second left. It just changes what you can do instead of having that kind of bullshit alley-oop play at the end of the game. I thought that was ridiculous. To call a jump ball in the corner when Wendell Carter just like elbowed Derek White in the head. Like, I guess I never saw it being off of Derek White, but like just to call a jump ball in that situation made no sense. At no point did 2 guys have possession of the ball at the same time.
Well, if you think about it, he hits him in the face with the ball while his foot's on the line. So they both touched the ball out of bounds. No, it was such bullshit. And like you were saying too, in that seconds on the clock, I don't know if the referee went over to the TNT or ESPN. Was this on ESPN?
ESPN, yeah.
Okay, I don't know if they went to the ESPN booth, but they went over to Scal and Drew, and they were like explaining why there was no time added. And
what was their explanation?
They said something like the ref was like, "Can't add it back because there was no review." And Drew goes, "The referee is trying to tell me something, but I don't understand it." And he's like,
I feel like time is one of the only things you can review in late game situations.
And Scal literally at a certain point goes, "Well, you can review it if you botched it." It was just perfect.
Well, that's good. At least we had some good moments there. I think one sneaky thing about this game is like we're used to the Celtics playing with a bunch of guys out. That's pretty much what they did the entire season. But Drew Holiday did not play in this game, and I thought they really missed his presence on the defensive end because he's just a big body you can throw at Paolo, and I feel like it was a lot of double bigs tonight, and I feel like that kind of hurt the Celtics offense and their spacing just because that allows the Magic to pack the paint that much more. And with Drew in the game, you have this big body you can throw at Paolo, but you can still play maybe a 5 out or just like a 4 out, 1 in. But without him in the game, you have to rely on Sam Hauser. Not good tonight. Or you kind of go to a double big situation where you're just trying to get bigger bodies out there to kind of create that wall against Paolo. And that means you have to play Kornet and Kristaps together, or you have to play Kornet and Al Horford together. And I just didn't like the double big. And so I feel like Drew Holiday's versatility, his ability to play that kind of strength and physical defense, but then also be a guard on the offensive end. Also, Drew Holiday's ability to just like play physically on the offensive end and drive and get to the bucket is something I feel like they needed. They just needed those 8 points from him to be like, I'm just going to do the big, strong man, drive right through your chest and get that layup. And so I felt like they were missing that flavor from him on offense, but really just like the versatility of being a two-way player from him. They didn't have it because Kristaps was bad tonight on defense. Franz Wagner absolutely owns Kristaps Porzingis, and I just don't get it because the man can't shoot. His jump shot is broken. Just play, like, take a few steps back and don't let him get to the rim. Admittedly, Franz is also like 6'10" himself and is very good and is like driving, but for some reason he's just figured out Kristaps Porzingis and he's just pointing at him at the end of the game, like, bring Kristaps up. And this has been my concern, is that I just don't think Kristaps is in your closing five because I think he's the defensive liability at this point because he can be pulled out onto the perimeter. If you have Drew, you can close with Derek White, Drew, the Jays, and Al Horford, and you have this solid two-way lineup where there is no kind of like weakest man on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. At a certain point in the Patreon chat, which I was feeling a little wild in the chat today. I had a few drinks during this game.
It's a Friday night. Everyone
bonus
was feeling
pod.
wild in the chat. Yeah. Lost
And
in
like,
the sauce.
When it was Kristaps and Luke out there together, I was like, we have one too many tall white guys on the court right now. And like pretty shortly afterwards, like it ended up being Al Horford and Luke Kornet. And I also just kind of feel like Al, throughout the season, this hasn't been true, but especially tonight, like Al Horford was the glue that made the double bigs work. And when it was not Al Horford, it was not working at all. Because like, again, single game plus minus, but like Luke finished a +8 and Al finished a +6. Like those two together on the court was fine. Al Horford on the court is always fine, but like, yeah, I mean, it was just also, you know what? It's a post game. What am I saying? It's a post game podcast, and we're overreacting to the game. And like, yeah, Kristaps had a shitty game, but like, it's ultimately like it's whatever. I do feel like I need to jump back. Again, I've had a few drinks. I do need to jump back to Sam Hauser because you said that it's a bad game for Sam Hauser, and someone else in the chat did. Who was it? It was Birkin. Birkin here said Hauser, MIA. I think that's mostly true. Like the two fouls were both kind of on Hauser, but like he put up one shot attempt. Like I think this was another instance, like for him and Pritchard, it was like they never got them the ball in a space to shoot. Like they were both kind of just like dribbling it up, getting the random rebound and hoping for the best. But like the spacing for me was really the issue in this game. It was just like gross, sticky, disgusting basketball.
Oh, I think it comes back to the double big. Especially if you have Kristaps and Luke out there, like Kristaps is not a spot up guy. Like you're not going to have Kristaps in the corner. So like Kristaps can kind of create threes off a pick and pop, but he needs to be involved in the action. And then you're kind of trying to create stuff in the middle. At least with Al can just kind of plant himself in the corner of the dunker spot and you have better spacing that way. Hauser, it's tough just because like he's not going to create his own shot. And so he missed his one shot in the corner. Would I have liked it to go down? Obviously. But like he's just like a product of like what the offense could create. It just felt like they were letting the Magic dictate the terms of like engagement. The Magic, I just like they did a good job of picking up farther up of the court. They had that stretch where they were picking up full court. I think they went on started their run there at the start of the third quarter. Just some goofy turnovers, like Pritchard turnover. And so I think you have to give the Magic for kind of like taking the physicality. I just felt like the Celtics couldn't get into any sort of offense with ease. And against this Magic team, like the way to beat them is you just have to keep going to the rim. And because they're going to take away the threes and they're going to play physical at the point of attack, you need to get by them. You need to go to the rim, hopefully generate help, but you got to make those easy buckets. because they're going to switch everything. They're going to guard their yard. They're not going to put 2 on the ball. So I think you need to put your head down, get downhill. So I think Jalen did a decent job of that at some points in this game, but he only had 19 points. I thought Tatum was good, 36 points. Like, that's just kind of a classic Tatum game, but I thought down the stretch he could have done more. And again, it comes back to Kristaps. Like, you need to be able to finish over Cole Anthony or Anthony Black or any of these Corey Joseph, any of these smaller guys, and it just doesn't feel like he had any of those moments. And then I think the people were talking about it in chat, like JB picks up his 5th foul with about 4 minutes left, and he sits, and that's when you have these back-to-back possessions where it's just Franz going right at Kristaps Porzingis, and it's like, is it a mistake there to not bring back in JB so there is no kind of clear person for the Magic to target there? I would say so,
Yes.
but also it went poorly for the Celtics. So no matter what they did, I'm going to think it was a bad decision.
Yeah, and also even before he picked up that foul, I mean, Scout said it on the broadcast too, so I can't pretend it was my own original idea. But like, there were plenty of plays where it was just like, why is the ball not getting to Jaylen Brown? Like, he had back-to-back, like, it was like driving layups, like back-to-back. But I'm like, get this guy the ball. Like, he's rolling to the rim, he's getting past his guy, and instead it was like 2 passes into Kristaps, who missed both of his weird fader jumpers, and then the Celtics are back down again, and it's like, yeah, it's again, everything on the offense tonight was just spacing and just not moving the ball, and just like a lot of really bad. I mean, Jaylen Brown had, I think it was the 3rd quarter, just like a gross possession where he like gets past his defender, but then he goes in the paint and he has 4 guys on him, and he goes up and misses, and it's like, yeah, well, you're not getting the rebound on this one, and it's just like, you know, yeah, just gross, bad ISOs, no spacing. It was no fun to watch.
I mean, ISOs is going to be part of the game. They just need to, you need to win your one-on-one battle. Like, that's what the Magic are going to force the Celtics to do. And it's going to be like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, get past your guy, get to the rim and make buckets, or Kristaps Porzingis take advantage of the switch and beat that, or big, strong Drew Holiday come in and like go through them, guys. Like, this is where I thought Derek White's not the most physical of basketball players, and so it's not like it's on him to necessarily impose his will, but he did his job towards the end. Like, how many people, I think it was 2 or 3 times where it was just like, all right, Derek White's going to get to the rim and get that easy layup because that's what the Magic are giving up. And so he, I thought, did his job in that regard. But they didn't do that consistently enough. There was a lot of settling for jumpers, or a lot of just bad possessions where it was ISO dribbling. But it's just like, they need to get downhill. They need to continue to make layups and force the Magic to commit someone else. And then you can pass the ball out, and then you can start generating more threes. Like, I think the threes taken by the Celtics was the number I was looking at. I think 27 tonight, which is a low number for the Celtics.
Yeah.
Not good. Celtics in 5. Get these foolish franchise out of my face. They can't make a shot. They're not good. They just won. I'm clearly mad online. Paolo is good. Franz apparently had 32 points, but 11 for 27. Not the most efficient evening. And I just, like, considering how badly the Celtics played, considering the Celtics had their worst quarter in the history of this season, 11 points. I think the Magic should have done a better job of like putting away this game. But this is me just coping right now because I'm angry. I'm mad online. I'll admit it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess if you're talking silver linings, right? Like, it's another game where the Magic didn't break 100 points. This is like as many points as they scored against the like main Celtics that they played in the regular season.
They shot 41% from the field. Like, they did not play a good offensive game. It's really, they had 26 points off of 20 Celtics turnovers. The Celtics just take care of the basketball. They should walk away to this game. Yeah, the Magic do not scare me. No
KCP had no buckets tonight. I like that.
Yeah, F that guy. F him.
Are we worried? Are we worried that someone's gonna like someone else is going to get hurt in this series before it's over. That's my only thing about extending this series even another game is I'm like, I don't want to give these guys another chance to hurt someone else.
Yeah, Cole Anthony had like a hard foul on Jalen that looked worse because Jalen looked like he was a little hurt. That's a playoff foul like that.
Yeah,
I don't think is like too bad, but they just play. Cole Anthony had one stretch there where he's just sprinting into guys. Like that was a weird, but that was the thing. You had them in the bonus with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Continue, put your head down and just make them draw contact. They're addicted to fouling. Even when Tatum had a wide open like thing to the layup, Franz fouled him for no reason. Like he was going to get it. They are going to give you contact. And like, wow, I channel your inner Jalen Brunson. Become unethical hooper for a second. Throw the head back. If you're in the bonus in the fourth quarter and you're having struggling offense, I just thought there wasn't as much of just like that. It was weird that they also were isolating Tatum on Paolo a bunch. Like that was the kind of matchup they were going against because Paolo's a giant individual, and I thought he did a good job kind of like not letting Tatum get to the lane, and so I didn't feel like the killer whale offense was attacking the right dolphin. What do killer whales eat?
That sounds right to me.
Yeah, dolphins, people,
whatever they want.
What kind of whale was Free Willy a killer whale, or is he just a whale regular?
I think he was an actual whale. Aren't killer whales not even whales? They're like
they're orcas.
Like their own thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, I got nothing more to say about this basketball game, so let's get to the junk drawer of the evening. No! It's not the junk drawer. It's the still Poddable still of the game. And this is an actual still. I saw this happen. I paused my YouTube TV and I went back and I captured this image of Luke Cornett. For those who are listening to the audio version, this is Luke Cornett with something in his nose to plug the blood. Looks like he has a very swollen eye. It's also a goofy angle because I took it with my phone directly off the television. And he kind of looks like a zombie. He kind of looks like an early guy from The Last of Us, like an infected.
Picture like Megamind's head. It's like that shape, but it's Luke Cornett's face on it.
Yeah, and he's got kind of his mouth ajar, like he's just got hit over the head with a frying pan.
Which is kind of what happened to him.
Yeah, I tweeted out this picture, and an inside member of the Celtics organization texted me and goes, "What is going on here?" And I thought that was a win for the evening. So that's the still Poddable still of the game. All right, let's get to the junk drawer. It's not really junk. I'm still complaining about Drew Holiday. Hurt his hamstring. Do you think it was hubris because he tried to dunk in game 2? Because he dunked like a man that old who's only dunked once this entire season. He dunks again and immediately hurts his hamstring. It's mighty suspect.
I agree with you. He shouldn't do it again. No more dunking.
No dunking,
I loved it.
Drew.
No more dunking.
No more dunking. This is a rant, and this is
yes.
The NFL draft is the dumbest fucking thing in the world. It's an administrative concert, and 250,000 people showed up to Green Bay, Wisconsin to watch an administrative just conference of just like, oh, we're going to output this man on this team. There's no there. And it's just a bunch of people being like, I have all these opinions about this college football player. You're wrong. You don't work for the NFL. You don't know how to evaluate players. People who work in the NFL don't know how to evaluate players. Oh, Patriots got an A for this draft. The guy hasn't played yet. We don't know. The amount of time people spend on the NFL draft is infuriating. If you are a fan right now and you like the NFL draft, I was going to be like, oh, that's okay. No, you're wrong, and it's stupid. It's a dumb thing to care about. Back to fun stuff. Why were Rob Lowe and Shabuzi in a commercial for the NBA? What a weird combination.
I didn't see that. That's incredible.
It was just like a bunch of NBA players, and then it's like Rob Lowe's in a throne on the sidelines, and then Shabuzi is there. And I was like, that's an odd combination of people. But it's the NBA. I will say I do not respect any Orlando Magic fans, but I do respect one of them. And I don't know if he was a fan or he's a part of like the dance crew. And yeah, that statement was contradictory when I said I respect none of them except for one. But at some point, the Celtics were taking a free throw, and he might have been part of the dance crew, but there was just a man holding up a sign, and it looked like it was 8.5 by 11, like a small sign, and it just said distraction on it. And that's my kind of distraction, because that's what makes you think. It's like, that's the exact type of thing you need to do to have someone miss a free throw. You have to make them go, huh? Right before they're about to take it. And that's, I just like that from the Orlando Magic here tonight. Celtics missed 4 free throws, so maybe it worked. Maybe they were distracted by the distracted sign. I have another rant. In the year 2025, the year of our Lord, in the NBA playoffs, the Magic played a lineup with Corey Joseph and Gary Harris on the court at the same time. The Celtics lost to this team. Gary Harris, Corey Joseph. At no point were those two players good enough at any points in their career. We can talk prime, Nuggets, Gary Harris, and Corey Joseph was out of the league for 4 years. They were both on the court tonight at the same time. And that's just pathetic. Was Jason Tatum grabbing his wrists while celebrating 3-point shots? Like, you felt like he would make a three and then go and then hold his wrist, which is like either he's in tremendous pain or he's, oh my God, late breaking news. We've got from masslive.com checking into the Poddable postgame show, the great Brian B-Rob. B-Rob, are you so disgusted by this performance that you had to check in?
I had to check in here. We're working, but I need to check in on my guys.
Oh, tell me what was the worst part of this night? Was it the
That's what I was going to ask you. That was my question. Like,
Kristaps Porzingis just not being able to do anything on offense? Was it Kristaps Porzingis being just called out by Franz Wagner down the stretch and Joe Mazzulla not subbing Jaylen Brown back in the game? Or was it just generally the offense where they were absolutely dominated physically by the Magic, and despite being in the bonus for the final 8 minutes of the game, not going to the rim, not getting free throws, not using that to their advantage, and taking some just bad possession after bad possession?
I don't know where to start. I think if you look at everything in totality, I look at 3 things out of those, Packard. One, Porzingis in the game late, I think was bad, given how bad he was defensively. I don't know how much you guys covered that already. But
we talked about how much Franz just dominates him.
That's like, it's like the Celtics do this to teams all the time, and he's out there in those moments. I know Drew is out, but damn it, I'd even freaking close with Cornette. If you're like, go double Cornette Horford, because he was the better big in that game than Porzingis. Because Porzingis offensively in that game was giving you nothing. And to his credit, he said he was shit post game. But that was bad. Jaylen, you have to get him back into that game. I know they like to hold on to their timeouts, but I know he had 5 fouls. You have to get him back into that game with the way the offense is going, with the way Kristaps was playing. It's like you keep your timeouts unless there's something extreme you have to do, like
unless
getting
you need to
your
stop
all-star
the game.
into the game for a guy who's not playing well. And so that's 2. And then 3, like, I know they kind of got screwed on the backcourt situation, and I don't like not fouling with that differential, like at the end of the game.
Did they lose time off the clock? Because I felt like there was more time.
Right.
I felt like there was like a 5-second difference.
Yeah.
And then they called the backcourt, and then they had like a 3.8 second difference. So I thought they lost time there as well.
Right.
But I agree with you. Foul Franz Wagner. The man's been missing free throws all night. Yeah. Foul KCP. he doesn't like, obviously you don't want to foul Paolo, and I thought they did a good job of inbounding Paolo, but they did like get screwed there because they had the Magic on their heels on a bad possession. And I get not fouling in that because you've kind of created them and now they're scrambling. But after that happens, I agree. Ball deny Paolo and then foul Franz as quickly as you can, just so you have an option to do more. Do you figure out why they couldn't put more time back on the clock in the final, like the very final possession? I thought like Tatum called the timeout with like 0.8.
Right. Yeah, I was surprised they didn't review that. It's tough to tell now what they can and can't review with the clock stuff if you don't have a challenge. I thought though there was enough went off there where they would like look at it and put a little bit back because it looked like it was closer to 1 second than certainly 0.3. But that it might just be at their discretion. And they, whether it's the table or them, they clearly thought they were fine. And yeah, that was just a situation where you have to factor in. Yeah, I was like, oh, we play good defense, a long rebound. Yeah, you're playing the matchup. There's gonna be 1,000 long rebounds, and you haven't been able to grab a clean rebound for most of the night. So like, extend the game. Hopefully, someone misses one, and then you can give yourself a time as opposed to being left with an impossible situation with 0.3, even though you're down 2. So, I mean, we won't. Those are the 3 I wanted to get in. You guys probably covered everything else here.
You made me think of one thing that I haven't covered. Amount of offensive rebounds given up when you are playing double bigs for most of the game.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have that many possessions, especially in the second half where the Magic were just winning every single physical battle, every single 50-50 battle. And B-Rob, I talked about this before, but like I thought Drew's absence was huge just because it forced them to basically have to play much bigger because I felt like they needed guys to throw at Paolo just to have bigger bodies. And Drew's the type of guy where he can play that defense on Paolo, but then on the other end, you can kind of go a little bit smaller and have more spacing. Cause I just thought the spacing was so bad, especially in that third quarter.
Yeah. It's you just see his value, and especially when it's like you're getting nothing from KP offensively in the series outside of free throws. And
he could have used some of those tonight.
Could use them tonight. But when KP can, and then the other guy in this series, and me and Pina talked about it a little bit in today's pod, was Sam Hauser's been MIA. Beyond it being another defense liability against Paolo, which is you expect that. Paolo's been amazing in this series, but you need something from Hauser. You need something from KP. When you're getting nothing from both those guys, and Pritchard was neutralized, if you will, then suddenly you have an 11-point third quarter, and are just 34 points in the second half, and are just fighting and scraping your way to tie up a game with a minute or 2 left. So yeah, this has been half the series now where the offense looks meh.
That's what the Magic do. The
Magic do.
It's
like
very
good.
good.
I give them tip the cap of Magic. I mean, that was a gritty win, and I mean, the refs are the refs. They will see if they actually start calling more legitimate fouls as the series goes on. The Celtics are certainly going to imagine send plenty of tape to the league from Game 3, where there's probably could have been 20-30 fouls that were not called at least.
It feels like it's every underdog's strategy in this playoffs. It's just like we're gonna beat the shit out of the other team, and you can't call it every time. Yeah, that'd be
exactly.
So it's working. B-Rob, I'm gonna make you stick around for the junk drawer because I just feel like transitioning from that to what I'm about to say is perfect.
Do it.
There was an advertisement for 2 flavored beef jerky that I just thought was the grossest thing in the world. I don't know if you guys saw this podcast, but it was Jack Link's, and it was combination Yeti and Sasquatch, and they tried to make those 2 guys friends. But I don't want maybe like a teriyaki flavored beef jerky, but it felt like it had nacho cheese and other stuff, and it was disgusting. Jaylen Brown had a wide open corner 3 and hit the side of the backboard. That was pretty gross. I'm not going to play the button for that. Apparently, you tell me, Jason Tatum had one of the more obvious carries I've seen in a long time. And my brother tells me that they talked about it on the NBC Sports broadcast for about 7 minutes when it was just like, no. He directly went put his hand under the ball, walked around like a waiter, and then dribbled it again. Is this true, Sean?
They did talk about it forever. I think that they should just get rid of the carry in the NBA as a rule because they don't ever call it, and then they choose random infuriating times to call it. Oh, and you did someone just kick B-Rob off, or is B-Rob leaving? Okay.
I mean, I'm just listening.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
But yeah,
he's to be seen, not heard, or the other way.
yeah, he's leaving. He's leaving it up to us.
He said,
But,
he said, I came here for serious basketball talk, and you threw me into a jerky conversation. This is fair.
That is fair. But yeah, they did spend a lot of time. We watched the replay a lot of times on the NBC Sports Boston broadcast.
It was a fairly obvious carry. Chat was upset. I love chat. Chat, you guys are great.
I do think that on the local broadcast, what they did was they didn't actually show the carry.
That's also what my brother said. They showed a
they
bunch of
skipped to
dribbles
post
before
carry.
the carry. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you never saw it happen on the screen. You're just like, where's the carry? There's no carry there. It's great.
Here's another question from my brother. It's my final thing tonight. How many Orlando Magic tattoos do you think exist in the world? Like, how many rabid Orlando Magic fans are there? Because, like, they've never done anything. They made it to the finals with Shaq against the Rockets, and that was 30 years ago. Oh, my God. They had Dwight Howard made it to the finals in 2009. I guess the Eastern Conference Finals, Big Baby really hit that game winner in 2010. Do you think that will be in Celtic City, the Big Baby game winner? I doubt it. If they're not giving 20 minutes to Isaiah Thomas, I don't know if they're giving 30 seconds to Big Baby's game winner in 2010. But they might. They might. But how many Orlando Magic like tattoos do you think exist in the world?
I'm conflicted, right? Because
they are
on the
people.
one. Yeah, it's Florida people. So, like, on the one hand, while the Magic are completely pointless, like, it is people in Florida. I feel like there's got to be. It's a small group of some of the most insane people on the planet.
Yeah, how many tattoos do you think there are of just stuff the Magic Dragon, their mascot? Because I feel like that's more of a tattoo-friendly image than whatever their weird stars are.
Yeah, that there actually are only stuff the Magic Dragon tattoos.
I went from hating the idea of the Orlando Magic tattoos coming back around to fully respecting it if it's a stuff the Magic Dragon tattoo.
Yeah.
What were those things that like J.R. Smith used to ride around? Like they're not like hoverboard types things, but they were called. Yeah. But didn't they have something called like they were called like a funky duck or something, or like some cool name? Stuff can really handle his own on one of those hoverboards, and I think he deserves credit for it. And I didn't think I'd come into this podcast doing any Orlando Magic respecting, but here we are. That's what happens in a podcast for 40 minutes after a loss in Game 3. That's all I got. Gonna press the button. B-Rob, I'm adding you back. Any last thoughts?
We now know Game 5 is going to be at 8:30 p.m. Just to throw
prime
on the
time
right now. But yeah, I don't know. I guess this is whenever we're going to lose in this series, it was going to be dramatic. As we saw in the first 2 rounds last year, but doing it against the Magic team that certainly looks better than those 2 teams last year at this point, certainly for a defensive basis, it'll be fascinating to see how this offense looks in Game 4 and whether Drew Holiday is going to be back on the floor, if they'll stay extra cautious of him. I guess we're going to find out.
We will find out, and we will be here for you guys on the Poddable Post-Game Show after the game on Sunday. We appreciate everyone tuning in on the YouTubes or the Twitter right now. If you want more Still Poddable, just had a great week of content for all the games. B-Rob had Michael Pina on from The Ringer, hoping to get more guests as the playoff progress. We are here for you every single day, even Monday through Friday. But if a playoff game happens on a Friday or Saturday, you bet your ass we're going to be here too on the Poddable Post-Game Show. Really appreciate everyone tuning in. We'll be back on Sunday for Game 4. Have a good night, folks. I guess if you can, try your best. Watch some television.
Still Poddable, the Boston Celtics, still Poddable.